Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Michael White, sitting in for Annalise Porman. At the Bloomington City Council's special session on October 27th, the mayor's proposed 2022 budget was passed unanimously. Negotiations were tense at the October 13th meeting, with several council members saying they would vote no on the budget unless certain changes were made by the mayor. Mayor John Hamilton spoke about the changes that were made to address council members' concerns regarding police salaries and climate action.
There are two issues that have persisted a bit, one relating to public safety, particularly police, and another in the field of climate-related investments, including staff position. Now, let me just very briefly address each of those. Regarding public safety, first, I want to put it in context quickly. Since I've been mayor, particularly since 2016, with investments beginning with public safety, local income tax that we added have brought us to be the only city in Indiana that has a CALEA accredited police department and an ISO ranked fire department. We are the only city with the excellence of both of those in one place, and our overall crime rate continues to go down, and fire saves and the call responses show why we earned that top ranking. But we're never done, and the 2022 budget does have major new investments in this very basic service of public safety, especially the police department, which we know is under stress. 16.5 new positions, unprecedented funding, and as I shared yesterday in the update I gave on the budget, the $5,000 one-time retention bonus that is included in this budget. As we're beginning the labor negotiations this week, we will start with an assumption that that $5,000 will be in the new base and bring a 2023 agreement to council that we'll want to do to assure we have the revenue ongoing to support that. I'll also just note we continue the work of the Future Policing Task Force to continue to address and look to how that will evolve in the future. Second, on the climate investment front, again, first, just very basic context. This administration, with your support, fully embraces the challenge of the climate emergency, and we've taken unprecedented steps to address this existential threat. The first ever greenhouse gas inventory, sustainability action plan, climate action plan, unprecedented investments, expanding solar production for the city, new positions, new programs. But we are never done here either. And the question ultimately is impact and the outcomes we want to see. As I clarified in yesterday's budget update as well, we do plan as administration to bring $10 million of new bond proposals in the first half of next year that will focus on sustainable infrastructure through a parks bond and a general obligation bond.
Councilmember Dave Rallo commented that he was glad to see the mayor make changes to the police budgets.
I'm very pleased and supportive of the proposal by the mayor to incorporate $5,000 into base salaries for police officers. It remains to be seen what will be proposed in the negotiations coming forward, but committing $5,000 in base salary is very helpful to moving us into a position of competitiveness with peer cities. That said, just to be clear, what many of us have said over the past weeks is that to be truly competitive with other peer cities, and in this sense, CALEA certified cities, it will require more. It will require $10,000 to $12,000. But that's a trajectory that we can be on, and I see 5,000, as we've stated in our resolution, as a good start.
City Council President Jim Sims said he appreciated that the local city government worked together on the budget, saying that, quote, "Teamwork makes the dream work," end quote.
What I mean by that is when we all work together, when we're collegial, when we are respectful, and when we have meaningful dialogue, then I think we can move forward on making decisions as we move along. This budget is not perfect. I think my colleagues, or I'll just speak for myself, I don't think the budget is perfect. But I do know that the budget has significantly improved over the last weeks of discussion with administration, which I do appreciate. This council had a resolution, as I stated earlier, to add $5,000 to the base pay of our sworn officers. And instead, we got a $5,000 bonus over 5 quarters. Now, that to me is moving toward middle ground, working in order to reach a consensus. And I'm encouraged with the regard from the administration saying that as we move forward with negotiations, they will begin with the base salary that we think is a good beginning and where it should start.
Council member Isabel Piedmont Smith commented on the collaboration between the council, the mayor, the treasurer, and department heads.
The budget process was grueling this year, but I appreciate that my colleagues on the city council, as well as the mayor, have had more communication this year than in the past. And I believe the council has had a greater input into this budget than at any other time in my service on the city council. And I think that is excellent. And we should continue to have this sort of vigorous dialogue.
She also said she was disappointed that the position for a climate action director was not filled and that Bloomington is already behind schedule on implementing ways to mitigate climate change and the effect it will have on the city. Councilmember Kate Rosenberger remarked that she would like to see bolder moves in the budget. She highlighted that things were not included in the budget that she believes should be in the future.
I think it's important that we make significant progress on our phase 1 goals of the city's climate action plan. And I know we're working on that in many different ways. I mean, one now is hiring another employee in the office to work on sustainability. And I think that is great. And some of those goals that we need to start working on were listed out in one of our memos to expand solar beyond residential homes. And I mean, that's even more so specifically like beyond single family homes, right? But we want to look at expanding solar to multifamily homes, how we can get apartment buildings and condos to start getting to take advantage of programs, to subsidize solar and get that going. Commercial and industrial solar as well, some pilot programs for that, conducting a food security assessment and developing strategies to decrease food insecurity in the areas of our community that need it the most. I think we're doing one corridor study as the transportation plan calls for. It would be good to do the other major thoroughfares as well. These are just some things that did not get into the budget, but I think are very, very important here.
Council member Steve Volan said that the council was pushed to negotiate the budget. He said he is encouraged that the mayor made changes and that the council members stood up for their budget concerns. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
For hurting families in Monroe County.
A contribution to children who are vulnerable and in need of an advocate.
A staff that goes above and beyond to support and advocate for children in need of services.
The web of remarkable people who are dealing with difficult situations.
So many young people that are in need of help and trying to find a stable family, a stable place to live. Without the CASAs to make that happen, many of them would be unable to find a good home.
I love being that voice for the child who can't speak for themselves in court.
It takes me out of my comfort zone, and it also helps others.
CASA means supporting our community.
Being a CASA is making sure that your village is healthy and whole, and that the children in your village will someday be able to help the village as well.
A child who doesn't have a voice, maybe in their family situation or a school situation, now has a voice that can advocate for them.
I really enjoy working with children that are going through difficult times and letting them know that I care about their future.
We are privileged with our charge of representing the best interest of children. And so therefore we can advocate for exactly what they need without restriction, focusing on their best interest.
I want to repair the world one child at a time.
And welcome back to CATSweek. On October 27th, at the Monroe County Commissioners meeting, Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation, John Robertson, presented a service agreement with Trailhead Labs for the purchase of a software called Outer Spatial. According to Robertson, this program would create interactive maps for parks and trails for county residents.
So Outer Spatial is what started as a mobile application, but is now a mobile and web-based application that will allow us, the Parks Department, also the county, to do a lot more with our trails and parks and incorporate that into community engagement. So the app more or less allows us to provide interactive maps of both the parks and trails. One of the benefits to having an app, especially on trails, which for us are, kind of outside of the city limits, maybe the cell phone reception somewhat limited. You don't need cell phone reception in order to use the app itself. So you've got access to maps of the trails, trailheads, parks, things like that. Without needing reception. So that's a big benefit. Through this app, we're also able to push things like brochures, facility information, program information, and then events as well.
He also noted that out of the $15,000 cost, $10,000 would be funded through a Duke Energy Foundation grant the county has received. The commissioners voted to approve funding for Outer Spatial unanimously. Later in the meeting, Board of Health Director Penny Cottle updated the commissioners on the Board of Health's recommendation to extend the countywide COVID-19 health regulations.
And that goal was to have cases per 100,000 drop below 50 and to be in a blue advisory. So we were not there as we had hoped. And I mentioned to you this morning, we're still not quite there. So the Board of Health wants to get there. And that is all based on the CDC's recommendation that communities that have a substantial or high level of community spread should be masking when indoors in public places, regardless of their vaccination status. So that's why this went into effect. We're requesting that it be extended until we reach the goal. They did not put an end date on it because we hope that we're pretty close to that. Again, as I said earlier, who knows, no crystal ball here, but we hope that we will be there soon.
Commissioner Penny Githens supported the extension of the mask mandate. She highlighted how the regulations have supported the community's economy as well.
We've heard from businesses who say that they appreciate having the mask sort of mandate in place. It keeps their employees on the job. And without that, things will shut down again. It's just, everybody is just working at the edge. And I've also talked with people in other counties who actually come here to shop because they feel safer. So it's a boost to the business.
Board of Health Director Penny Cottle shared that she has spoken to the health departments of the surrounding counties who would like to have a mask mandate in place, but they do not have the support from their elected officials. The board unanimously voted to approve the COVID-19 health regulation extension. At the Monroe County Community School Corporation board meeting on October 26, the board received pleas from parents to ensure the safety of their children from guns at schools after an airsoft gun was reported at Bloomington South High School, sending the school into lockdown. During public comment, a concerned mother spoke at the meeting about this being the second lockdown at Bloomington South in the last 2 months.
This is a picture of my daughter about noon on October 15th, after she tried to stay at school after the gun incident and was not able to do it. She drove to my work and slept in my office because she was too fearful to go home and be alone. This girl, along with her entire school, had to go into lockdown today. This was written October 15th. A child brought a gun into the school today. This is the second kid to bring a gun into Bloomington High School South in just over 2 weeks. I'm here to tell you that no child should ever have to experience this amount of trauma. No child, no educator should ever feel unsafe or to have to learn how to protect their students from such actions. This is the text message that I, like so many other parents, received from my daughter. Mom, 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 we're going into lockdown. Mom, something is happening in the hallway. Mom, I'm scared. This is my response. You're okay. Listen to your teacher and do exactly what they tell you. Then I sent an immediate next response that said, put your phone on silent. Do you know why I wanted her phone on silent? At this point, I know that my daughter is in lockdown and someone in the school is a threat. I did not want her phone to ding, chime, ring, or anything else. I didn't want her to become the target. I want to know, as a parent, how this happened. I want to know how these guns are getting into our schools. And I want to know how you intend to prevent this from ever happening again. Our kids, our educators, our school staff, they deserve way better than this.
One parent, Mia Douglas, said that there is a lack of communication between the school and the parents about how the school corporation plans to ensure the safety of students moving forward. The next MCCSC school board meeting will be held on November 16th. On October 26th, the Bloomington Board of Public Works approved funding for an LPA consulting contract with Etica Group for guardrails around Griffey Lake. Project engineer Patrick Dierkes said the guardrails were donated by Indiana University and that the improvement could be made using federal funding.
Services. This addendum will add additional right-of-way services required for the guardrail in the Griffey Lake area for the city to obtain land rights from IU to install guardrail along Headley Road. The addendum will add $22,850 to the existing contract of $114,693, making the new contract total $137,543.
Board member Kyla Cox-Deckard asked for clarification on whether they are adding new guardrails or replacing old ones. Dierkes replied that it's a bit of both.
It's replacing and also extending. The current guardrail, through maintenance activities on that road, the road elevation has been continuously increased. Typically as a cost savings measure, instead of milling down and removing pavement, you just add on top of it. And so the old standard guardrail is already shorter than what's required. This guardrail that's out there right now is significantly lower. It is actually, it could potentially cause more of a hazard than a benefit if a car was to leave the road. The guardrail also has what's called a turn down when the guardrail terminates into the ground, and the turn down is right at the edge of the road, and that has been actually shown through a lot of testing that the turn down actually results more as a ramp to a vehicle if they hit it. So we're extending the guardrail further south to be able to get into a tangent section of the road, which would allow us to install an end terminal, which is a crash rated end terminal. So if a vehicle did hit the end, instead of actually becoming launched by this turn down, it actually creates a crumple zone where it has a sacrificial piece of metal that will crumple as a car hits it, that will lessen the impact and also not launch the car into the air.
The board approved the funding for the guardrail update unanimously. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying. risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of regretting what I do, just to join the crowd.
I'm at risk of being told not to tell. And you would never know it by looking at me. But with Girls Inc. in my corner, there for me every day, believing in me,
showing me what's possible,
I can be strong enough to respect myself and my body,
to say I can rather than I can't,
to say no with no apology,
to be a leader,
to finish school,
to own my future,
to break the cycle.
Girls Inc. believes every girl can succeed. That's why the trained professionals of Girls Inc. are there for our girls every day, supporting, mentoring, and guiding them in a safe, girls-only environment. Building bonds that last for years and change that lasts a lifetime.
And welcome back to CATSweek. At the Ellettsville Town Council meeting on October 25th, Envision Ellettsville committee member Dan Rary gave an update and encouraged residents to keep filling out the Envision Ellettsville survey. He also reported that IU students will be consulting with the community to improve waterway issues downtown. He said it is mutually beneficial. The students get experience and the town receives free consulting.
The other thing I would like to report is that we've got a group of IU students from O'Neill SPIA School working on a project in the downtown area, and specifically where Robinson Block plant used to be. And if they haven't already, they're going to be contacting some stakeholders and contacting, I'm sure, Mike Farmer and Kevin Talati and some other folks. Timing seems right for this. This is a school project, and they're going to give us ideas of what other towns have done with similar waterway issues and help identify some future funding sources. I almost said flooding sources, funding sources, including Main Street grants.
Clerk Treasurer Sandra Hash asked the council if there was any consideration of some residents' interest in changing the Halloween trick-or-treat hours to Saturday night instead of Sunday. Councilmember William Ellis said that the date on the calendar is October 31st, and that is what kids know and expect.
Say the date on the calendar is the 31st, which is when Halloween traditionally is. So I don't see where we have any determination of when Halloween is. So I mean, that's I don't know when this started. It didn't happen when I was a kid. You went trick-or-treating whenever Halloween was. Nobody told us when to go. We were able to read a calendar at an early age.
Councilmember Scott Oldham responded that it is not the government's place to decide when trick-or-treating should occur.
My personal feeling is the government has no business telling you when you can go visit your neighbors. So go see your neighbors whenever you want. If they choose to give you candy, hey, good on you. If they don't, well, then leave.
The next Ellettsville Town Council meeting will be held on November 8th. On October 25th at the Bloomington Utilities Service Board meeting, Vice Provost for External Relations for IU Bloomington, Kirk White, asked how long the backup generator would run if the city ever ran into a power problem.
But we ought to have a range. Maybe, Vic, it would be a good idea to just in an upcoming meeting review of the board, what our capacity is at the individual locations. In other words, how long we can run if we've got a power disruption.
Director of Utilities Vic Kelson said he can get that information for the board in the future. On October 22nd at the Bloomington COVID-19 press conference, Board of Health Director Penny Cottle shared information regarding vaccines. She said that the annual flu vaccine is going well and that there is a high demand for the COVID-19 booster shots.
Currently, we have just under 61% of our eligible population that is fully vaccinated. And we have a high demand right now for vaccine, but that is really being driven by booster doses. So those booster doses are important. We want to encourage people to get them, but I will tell you that our first priority is to get those who have not been fully vaccinated. So that's our top priority, but nobody is going to be turned away from getting their vaccine if they are eligible for it.
Caudill also said that there will be more direction regarding vaccines for children ages 5 to 11 years old following committee meetings on November 2nd and 3rd. She also said that the current public health order has been extended due to our continued rate of community spread.
Our current status, Monroe County does remain in yellow advisory. We have 111 cases per 100,000 people this week, and that is a high level of community transmission. We talk about that every week. Our positivity rate was 4.46%. So with that, the Board of Health met last night to review the data and look at our regulation, that our current regulations set to expire on the 31st, or when we met our goal of less than 50 cases per 100,000 and we're in a blue advisory. So we're not going to meet that goal yet. So the board reviewed the information, they heard public comment, and they did decide to move forward because we still have substantially or high community spread. So we will be moving that forward. The Board of Commissioners will have to approve that recommendation to extend the current health regulation.
IU Health Director of Communications and Outreach, Shauna Girgis, said that the hospital is seeing a downward trend in individuals with COVID-19 in the last few weeks. She also shared the New York Times published data on COVID-19 in Indiana.
Another recent study compiled data from the CDC, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the U.S. Census Bureau, which found that Indiana had the 11th highest overall death rate in the country. In the same study, Indiana was 45th in vaccination rates, the 6th worst vaccinations in our country. The state is also 41st in total positive cases. The information on these studies is placed in the chat so you can review the data and these important statistics. We can do better at protecting each other and demonstrating how we care for our fellow neighbors and our community. We know the vaccine works. We know the vaccine is safe, and we know that it can save lives. If you have questions about the vaccine or like to talk to someone about scheduling your vaccination, please reach out to our community health team at 812-353-3244. Again, that's 812-353-3244. You can also reach out to the Monroe County Health Department, who we've heard from today, and most importantly, your primary healthcare provider.
And that's all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Michael White.